brought up to speed.
Okay.
So I'm going to need to be brought up to speed, but wow. I looked at the,
I don't know where you're at.
okay, sorry. You
Gosh.
sent over a couple days ago journal entries
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
IFS, the internals. Wow.
Oh, right. This PowerPoint here, let me share.
So bring me up to speed. You're just, you're doing tremendous work.
I had
No,
a
it's
really
phenomenal.
good
Phenomenal.
video, wound up being
You're my, this is good for you to know because, right, we all need good feedback. You're my superstar.
here. Oh, okay. Here,
I have
actually,
to
I want
tell
to
you,
show you this first.
you're like a rock star here. This is just, no, you're tremendous.
These are all my videos. So far I have 2, 4, 6, I have 10 now. So believe it or not, 4th of July is in 2 days. I could launch. Anyway, here's my TED Talk from yesterday. It's about 10 minutes, I think. Can you see it and hear it?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't appear. Okay, oh, there we go. Look at you. Okay.
And the blur is just signage that Chris
Oh,
doesn't
yeah,
want.
yeah. No worries,
Yeah,
no worries.
recorded and feeling a little sad. So, as per my own advice, I'm gonna beat on Ted the torso. My counselor said this is a new type of TED Talk. So here we go.
Good for you, Diana.
Just over here getting my gloves.
This is so important. You're showing people how to do it.
Yeah, I took the time to, you'll see.
What are you doing with your hands?
What I said to you all about that woman that told me that What'd you say?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, you're using it for padding for the bat.
Yeah, because
Gotcha.
yeah, you'll
Okay.
see. Okay. I was innocent and I didn't have a choice. I'll put this back a little bit. What's choking me up
Thank
because
you.
there's some parts, woman that told me that I was innocent and I didn't have a choice. And that's what's choking me up because there's some parts that before that they were too deeply repressed to hear that message, but now that they heard it today, it hit them.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to give them a chance to release some of it. Now, first I'm going to show you, my husband taught me how to stand and strike. So basically, so the fighter stance. This, you got your, yeah, one foot in front of the other. And he said, kind of rock a little bit. He said, imagine someone's pushing on you and that they can't push you over. So you got stance. And then your weapon, rather than before, I used to just do this. It said, swing your body.
Good, 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 good.
It really does. Because I used to have my hands up here to control the back, but now that I'm swinging, they're lower. Hit the baskets. We're innocent. Still are innocent.
Good.
Bastard.
This is tremendous. Yeah.
Just wait.
There we go. I like it. Absolutely.
Smash it.
Good. This is so good for other survivors to be able to see you doing this.
This is my 4th time watching it.
This is great.
Plus, I beat on Ted this morning.
Wonderful. I'm going to have to contact this company and tell them that we're promoting them.
Right?
Oh, those are good. Good, good, good. There you go. Good for you. Wow. I love it.
Nuts.
Good for you, Diana.
My husband also taught me how to use my hands. He said the palm of your hand is the strongest part of your hand. Hit like a boxer, your wrist and your fingers get screwed up. But if you use the palm of your hand, it's a piston. So he said, if you get their nose, the best place to hit is their nose. Because when their nose gets hit, their eyes are going to water, their sinuses are going to get filled up. Use the palm of your hand and aim for the nose.
Good.
And now if you hit it straight on, you're going to hurt them bad. And they're going to be out of the equation because they can't see, they can't breathe. So, but if you hit up, you're going to take their nose bone and shove it into their brain and you kill them.
That's right. Good.
Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you!
Good.
Don't get to hurt children anymore! Stop hurting me! Stop hurting me! That surprised me when that came out of my mouth.
That's beautiful, Diana. That's just been pent up for all those years inside you. That's beautiful.
Right! Dare you! How dare you!
Good.
Fucker!
Good. You're going to help so many people by showing this.
Just now, dissipating. Yeah, my sadness. Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful.
That's your fucking
Good.
it's more. Chris saw me doing that once and he goes, ow. Chris felt it. Adrenaline is surging.
Yeah, there we go. You're taking the power back. You're giving them back all the stuff. Beautiful.
Die! Go to hell!
Good.
Burn forever! Yeah, you'll move them. Thing is filled up with water. So push it from behind. Catch my breath.
As you're doing that, Diana, are you feeling it connect way down deep inside?
Yeah, this is Greta and Gerald.
Good. Good, good,
Yeah.
good. You're going to help so many people by showing them this.
I think I'm gonna remove those signs so I don't have to put the blur thing in there. We got some
Oh,
plastic and polyethylene weapons.
good for you.
I have some. This is nice. Trained to use knives, and they want their turn.
Good, 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 good.
Sure.
Beautiful.
Miss.
It's okay.
I know.
Put your hand up.
Good.
You little ones too.
Good. This is so good, Diana.
This is Jonathan and Finnegan.
There you go. Good.
I love doing that. Dig their eyes out.
Absolutely. Good. That's been pent up for all those years. Good for you. Good.
Get up! Oh, look out for the dick!
Good.
Screw you!
Good.
Burn in hell! If you're alive, feel it! We're coming for you!
Good. Good.
Your date is done! It's over!
While I watch this, I feel some of my parts giggle. I don't know if that's nervous laughter or if they're just
Oh, that's
excited.
right. That's justice.
What is that? About 8 or 9 minutes. I feel pretty fried and I'm not crying anymore. I don't feel sad.
It's a long time. Beautiful.
I feel actually a little invigorated. So if you can afford it, get one of these guys and get the full length so you can cut their dicks off. That's
Beautiful. Beautiful.
start from here and go up, but I wanted the full length one. Didn't know why, but now I do. Ted, have yourself a TED talk. You'll feel better.
Beautiful.
And I wish I knew who that woman was. Those, what, 25 years ago, that looked at me and said, "You were innocent.
There you go.
You were innocent." So, just put my gloves and knives away. And so, I think I'm gonna end off. And again, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And if you can't afford one of those, beat up your bed. Don't hurt yourself. Put on gloves and beat up your bed. If you can afford a boxing bag, my counselor recommended you get the kind that can be secured from the top and the bottom because you don't want it swinging back and forth. I thought wildly do that. But this, with that body, you can really pinpoint what you want to get at. So just saying. I wish you well. God bless you. And I love you all. You were innocent. Okay? Bye.
I changed the ending.
Well done, Diana. Wow.
So that's Ted. The TED Talk.
Okay. No,
Uh,
it's just so needed for
you know
survivors
what's
to see and give them
fast?
information.
Remember I told you Angie got one? Well, she's been working on it. And she told her girlfriend, who's also single about the same age, is frustrated with dating and all that. And her girlfriend's, really? I gotta get me one of those. And she hasn't even seen it or tried it yet. So she's gonna see Angie this weekend for the holiday. And I said, make sure you guys take turns. She goes, oh yeah, she's really excited about it.
There we go.
I
Right.
said, I told Chris, I said, we started a thing. So, and she makes a lot of money, so I'm sure she'll just buy one right away. So, yeah.
You're gonna have to on your channel talk to the company and have a link.
Oh, yeah. See it. Yeah.
Why not?
Because mine's all marked up. It's got a cut in his back. I should have done a close-up of Ted to show people. Well, before I got this, I used a dull bayonet that we
Yeah,
used
yeah.
for fire poker, and I put black marks all. You can see his chest. It's just all scarred up. I tried cleaning it too, and it won't come off. I don't want to put alcohol or anything on it and degrade it. So I'm like, you know what? I kind of like him with all scars. So
About time they have scars on that. That's right. That's
yeah.
right.
So this is what things are pretty quiet for a couple days. I was actually getting a little bored. And 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 I thought, well, let me see if I can fart around with this thing and make a three-dimensional. But my parents were like, well, just do it two-dimensionally with three-dimensional shapes. And so I was able to put this in here. And I thought it was funny because it looks like a can that's open. It didn't even dawn on me till I was finished.
Yeah, yeah.
So I took the stuff from, where is it? Emotional, was it impact? No, it was this one, where I broke it out. And when I broke it out, I realized I missed a whole category in one of these things. I had to add it. I was like, oh my gosh, holy cow. So I just took their names off of this. And as I did that, I got even more clarity. Like, no, you're not that. Because when I went through, I tried to mark as many as possible,
Yeah,
just so
yeah.
I wouldn't miss anything. And so as I was going through and moving them over into the PowerPoint, I was able to eliminate some of them. It's like I just didn't want to. I didn't want to have too little. I would wanted to start off with too much,
There you go.
kind of pare it down. So there's all these guys. Um, I got a lot of help in my conscious world. I really do.
Wow.
It's amazing how many people are dutiful and helpful and detailed, and my defensive aggressive people. I was kind of glad I don't have a whole lot of pessimism because I've never really sensed that, or not a whole lot of playfulness, but there is some there. So that was good. I thought there was just two, but there's a few.
And I was thinking, Dana, with the pessimistic one, then that'll be sort of a goal to try to figure out as they tell their story, as they begin to think through things,
Yeah.
help them
Yeah, cheer them up. I mean, all of these are new names. They're not even the old names
There we
anymore.
go, which is huge progress right there.
Yeah, I should have underlined the ones that are still old names, but I just dawned on me right now. So then
Yeah.
the suppressed parts, I had to break up into 5 different pages because it just wouldn't fit.
Yep.
So sacrificial, I don't know if you have any feedback here. This was these are the babies that I aborted. I feel guilty about that. I do, with God, and
It might be helpful to write a letter to them, a letter of you know, just to kind of get it out. And maybe the flavor, the feel of it, or the transition, it starts with what you regret. And so it's the hard part first, but then ultimately, since you know they're in heaven,
Yeah.
up the hopes for them. And well, I mean, they're with Jesus right now. And now that they know, even as they are known, they understand what happened. So
Yeah,
they have,
I do chat with them about stuff. Every night I tuck them into bed and give them kisses and love on them and hug them. And, they like that.
so the last part then is the dedication, as far as you dedicating yourself and making good on their pain, you dedicating
Oh,
yourself
yeah. I
on their
told them
behalf.
that as you grow, I see you are you are the seeds that are growing within me right now.
There we go. There we
You're
go.
the three paths. And I'm thinking that that baby that was taken from me in El Paso that I didn't even know existed, the part was Gumby. Sorry, Gumby, I can't remember your new name yet. Um, if that's a split and another baby, or what? Because I didn't choose that one.
That's right.
I wasn't even conscious. I wasn't even aware of it. So I don't know, I gotta kind of work that out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
okay, yeah, I'll write a letter to them and talk to them. And I've told them, I'm sorry I was promiscuous. I'm sorry I didn't use birth control. I'm sorry that I did feel each and every one of you, and I knew God didn't approve, but I was too scared of you being brought into the world that I had been in, and I wanted to save you. I sacrificed them so that they wouldn't have to. There was no chance in the world that that would happen. They would just get to be with God.
Yeah.
So they like that. They like knowing that. They still think I was irresponsible, and I was, but
But now you're making up for it by what you're doing.
yeah, yeah.
This is hard work that you're doing. So they,
Well, and Randy was Rocky. He was the one that watched mom being raped. And he feels guilty that he didn't save her. But I've explained to him, what could you have done? You would have just been caught, sucked back in, abused more. I said, you saved yourself. And yeah, it hurt your heart to watch that and to see mom change so drastically afterwards. I said, but your experience informed understanding why mom the way she was without being angry about it. You understood it, as to where Angie and Mary don't. You
yeah.
know what I mean? So he's feels better about that.
And the guilt, once it translates into, so if he can do some of the venting,
Mm,
guilt
you're
translates.
right, because he never does now that I think
Yeah.
about it.
Once the guilt translates into anger, the truth will sink in that he was put in a
Impossible
there we
situation.
go. And that's where the rage will come.
And
Right
the
there.
fact that he was clever enough and sly enough to sneak away and hide in the bushes for
That's right.
10, 12 hours and
Unbelievable.
peed on himself so as to not give himself, you know what I mean? Just,
Right.
he was very strong. So,
And it is very true that if it weren't for him, you all wouldn't remember half of what you're remembering because they would have traumatized you even worse.
right? I didn't even think of that. Yeah.
If not potentially killed you. I mean, who knows what.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they tortured him, that's for sure, afterwards. And I forget what part that was. But anyway, so, but yeah, I got a lot of caretakers sacrificing and trusting, and Strip, man, he knows God's on his side. I don't know how he knows, but he knows. So yeah. Let's see, next one. I thought this was fascinating too. Not a whole lot of compulsive, not, I do my work, I do my duty.
Yeah.
but I'm not overly compulsive. I think Chris, if Chris ever did this, got to this point, he would have 500 parts in here.
Okay, right.
He's a workaholic.
Okay.
And drill sergeant, there's just one,
Yep.
just one. Distractor denial,
Hmm.
getting high. Oh, I forget who Leslie is. Sweetie's the dog. She's a nice distraction. Oh, Sarge. She distracts me with getting shit done.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Judy was the one lost in the water, staring in the water. And so whenever I need to go calm down, I'll go sit by a body of water. Wizzy wanting to do her, magic stuff. I don't let her anymore, but that was a huge distraction for years and years and years was the new age stuff.
Oh,
So yeah, carefree, naive. I don't want to spend a massive amount of time here because we got the journals. So if you see anything you think,
it's all good. It's all tremendous.
yeah, I mean, we could get more into detail with this as we go along.
Okay.
And then, okay, it's more of the same, the suppressed parts, aggressive protectors, the one that always got pinched and stuff, and she just gets pissed off. She's like a level 1, trip ups it. Nancy, I forget who you are. See, I still am getting used to the new names. This is such a big shift.
Yeah.
But the seductive sexual control, Juliet was Siggy.
Okay.
I realize but at this level, she was the one that would sit there and wait for the other parts to do their thing. After they were done, the show was over, and she'd sit down and have a cigarette, and Jack would bring in someone for her to seduce, and then another part would take over and kill them.
That's right. That's
So
right.
she's like she didn't really have to ever really do anything sexual, but she was a seductress as well,
Right.
which, in the 60s and 70s, you always see people after sex with a cigarette and
That's right. That's
all
right.
that. So, but look at this. This surprised me how many willful and test limits people, which is a lot. Like I push back against Chris. I, push back against injustice. I, was a whistleblower.
That's right. That's right.
I don't know if Juliet goes there. So these aren't like 100% solid yet. And I don't know if they jump around in time either, or if they have more than, obviously they have more than one or two cans that they're open cans.
Yeah.
The atheists, not many. I'm glad about that.
Okay. And that'll be important for Sarge and Judy, as time goes on, for them to be able to,
Well, I'm
while
thinking,
they're vending. I'm sorry?
well, I was thinking now the ones who were loyal to the cult, they were not atheists because they did believe in their God.
Okay.
So I thought these two just don't believe in anything at all.
Right. But behind that or underneath that is probably anger at God.
Oh, okay.
Very understandably.
I'll write that down.
Even feel free. Now, this may sound controversial or somebody needs to kind of go with how they feel about it, but I think it's legitimate to use Ted and the bat and express anger at God
Holler at God. Yeah, I had Angie
because
do
he
that.
already understands. And so
Yeah,
it's until we get that out that then the truth can begin to sink in because
yeah.
then eventually, experientially, understand when in Isaiah 63, it talks about his fury sustained him as he was meting out justice. Then to begin to, it'll have that experiential shift that God honors that rage. Those are legitimate questions. It's really God, where were you? Did you see? Did you hear? Did you feel it? Does my pain,
Well, and when
this
we get into the journals, I'll show you some sketches
beautiful.
where
But
his
really, that's they're going to be the most honest. So they have, in a way, each of us have to give ourselves permission, risking that God knows and he will honor that pain. So we just have to get it out.
Yeah. Chris is real good with that. I used to think it was wrong for years and years and years until I met you. And now I'm like, oh my
Right.
God, he said, I'm just pissed off at God.
There you
I mean, he and I are going to have an argument when I get to heaven, is what
go.
he says.
But one thing Chris isn't doing, he's not working it through. He's
No, I know. He hangs on to it.
there
Yeah.
you go. He's not
Yeah.
tapping into it so that he can
Yeah.
finally experience that freedom.
So I'm eager for you to do the firefighters on Emma's show because I think it'll help me understand this better. But self-sabotage wasn't surprising when I broke those down, and self-blame, same thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Like pins, she's like, she would always get mad at herself and God damn it, if I hadn't done such and such and such, he wouldn't be putting me here. And I have to say, no, he would have done it anyway.
Good for you. That's the truth. That's right there.
He would have done it anyway.
That's
And
right.
and Smokus is all these guys are saying, oh, if I had just done a better job, I would have blah blah blah. And I'm like, no, it would have happened anyway.
That'll be good over time. Then you kind of have a list of who needs to do venting
Oh,
because it's only
right.
easy to rage.
Oh,
Just
so I should print these pages out
yeah,
and I'll
this
have
is
them out
beautiful,
there.
right? You really have so you kind of have then a date with each of these parts out of the
Yeah.
TikTok,
Because
right?
it's usually the same ones that go out there unless I have fresh memories of something. And, Jackie came up, and so Jackie's had her turn and she feels pretty good. But I know I'm missing a lot of them.
There is so
Like,
yeah.
please jump in. I don't have to know who you are. Just take a whack.
So taking the journal out, even the description of what you remember as far as what they went through, that'll be
Oh,
enough
maybe
to
on
get things
each day.
going.
Yeah, yeah.
That's perfect. Perfect.
So self-harm, following orders, channels off anger. That's scratchy and
Which again,
I
venting, right? It's the rage. All of these have intense rage. So being
okay, good to know. Good to know. And the
cut off
persecutorial
from it. So
parts.
for instance, if you don't allow the outlet of self-harm, now you're going to feel that tension and now out it can come. So it's redirect it really the greater pain wins out. That's what the self-harm is. So if someone's starting to scratch themselves and you hold their hands or they can't move their hands, you watch what happens. It'll
Oh,
build
the
up.
rest of
Out
their
it's going to
body.
come, right?
Yeah.
Out it's going to come. So that's the beautiful part about the self-harming ones, that they are right there already. So take the intensity, transfer it into the bat, and beat the hell out of Ted.
Okay. All right. Good. And then this was more loyalty to the perp. Um, I don't know. I think there's probably more, but at a deeper level than this.
So there's still that's where that pro and con list comes in. That's where they start looking
Yeah,
out
yeah,
what's true, right? Who cared? Did they get a thank you note from the perps and all right? So
right.
speak to big people looking at it. That's exactly right.
All right, cool. So next, some more firefighters. The robotic, submissive, unquestioning. Um,
Well,
uh,
here's a thought, Diana. For the robotic submissive and questioning obedience, it'll be interesting for you to ask that particular group, what would they like? So if you're robotic and submissive, you've never been given a choice.
oh,
So they
right.
don't even know that they have an opinion, right? And they
Okay.
don't even know how to have a preference. So that'll be good therapy for them to find out, for instance, what would you like to do? So to introduce the idea that so they're coming out of the concentration camp.
Yeah, yeah. The thing I noticed different was how these have, you made a round shape for it, and I copied what you did, and then for these you made
Yeah, there you go, to differentiate.
rounded squares. But when I put squares there, I think the one I sent to you has cubes. They
Oh,
looked like they were still boxed in, and I'm like, well, you're not boxed in. So I went and changed it to these cylinders.
there we go.
And then when I looked at it, I realized, well, okay, you just have a bigger, stronger lid
Yeah,
than these guys. You know,
there
what I
you
mean?
go.
Theirs is just a round, smooth edge, but these, if you approach, if the lid is closed, it's more of a barrier to open it, kind of thinking.
That's good.
So, yeah, I switched them to the cylinders. Self-harm, prosecutorial, I think we did oh, we were down here. Yeah, okay. And I tried to match the same color that you did. A lot of, quite a few parts that just take the pain.
Yeah.
And then the sexualized parts, but this is the lower level sexual, or the second level sexualized parts. There's a lot of sexualized parts.
Mhm.
And then this, I don't know
This,
why I needed to make it so large, but I did. It was like I said, it was a cube, but
oh
I
yeah,
turned it into a cylinder with the lid open. Quite a
they're,
few gatekeepers, yeah.
they're some of the strongest parts.
Now, by strongest, do you mean with emotional intensity or strongest in terms of their strategic abilities?
Probably both. That's a very good point, right? If you're tasked with ultimately, it's like air traffic control. And so they have to have both the strength and the
And the
strategic.
ability to coordinate.
Absolutely. This is
Because I
sort of
think
like,
a lot of these are like coordinators.
yeah, I was going to say this is like inside the Pentagon as well.
Okay. Yeah, so like I said, I don't think this is going to be done for a while until I get to know the parts a little more intimately, but and then the wounded kids again, I took the box away because the box looked closed and I wanted to see it open.
There you go. I like that.
Yeah, so that's the one I sent you has boxes. The next day is when I changed it. So protective guardian, self-destructor, blame self. So this is the deepest level.
Yep.
A lot of the sexual killer, cult members, et cetera, et cetera. And backup support, primary backup, secondary backup, and then I
Mhm.
should have switched this primary protector, secondary protector. And there may be more there. I'm not sure. Some people might be at the wrong level, wrong intensity that I'm just not clear about yet. I don't know. I don't know if you have any thoughts on this
Um,
page
no,
or
you're doing a super job. Yeah, the idea that
I
so
got support and
there
protection.
you go. So a
That
part
was nice to see.
right, a part takes over, and then now you're going through another horrific experience. The part is there, but then that part is overwhelmed, and so multiple parts can be born in that moment. And you
Yeah.
take a half hour of it or 15 minutes of it because it's so intense.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So here's the next one. So obedient, submissive, mechanical, numb, a lot.
Yeah.
Trauma bonded and loyal, a lot.
Okay.
The publicly functional, carefree and naive,
Okay.
which I think all children should have tons of
Absolutely.
this, but
Right.
I have very little. And the ones that were carefree and naive, wound up like Kitten and Sam. Eliza was executioner.
Yeah.
He just didn't care. He's just like, I'll pull the thing. I'll chop your head off. He's very detached and whatever. And then these guys, the parts that wanted to get help, I was like, there's a lot, there was a lot. I
Wow.
don't know who pushed the button to call you, but
Yeah, there we
they
go.
did. They did. And
A
then,
case to be made, they are the healthiest ones.
oh, wow. And Jackie. You know, Jackie was the one hurt just so badly with that bestiality.
Yeah,
She just was just desperate for help, desperate.
there you go.
Kept calling for mom and anyway, so primary, secondary. So these are all the ones that they all want help, right?
That's right. That's right.
So I
Meaning
thought that was
they
cool.
are in touch with their emotions. Uh,
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
the answer to everything is anger. So everybody gets a chance, ultimately has each part
Yeah,
has
because Barry Knight is Barry, the knight from the
so
castle. He's just disgusted with the whole thing and
yeah.
just wants to eliminate them all. So,
Good, good.
yeah, and this is Katerina's new name, Janina. Finnegan and Jonathan, these are their new names. I'm sorry, Donna, I can't remember your old name. I'm still getting familiar, and then there's me. And when I first did this, I made it small. The name was smaller, but I feel like my core person do they get bigger? I mean, Blue's getting bigger. I mean, I don't know. I just
There
felt like I should make it bigger.
we go. Well, you're
So
getting to know all of yourself, so your awareness and your
maybe
sense,
next time it'll fill the page.
right? There we go. Because I mean,
'Cause I made it the same size as the here and now public person.
okay, I got you.
So there's that. Okay. So
Outstanding.
that will evolve, and that came from this, which you have seen this. Oh, there was one part, it was Wizzy. I realized as I was doing this that Wizzy was in the wrong level of consciousness altogether. I had her as conscious, but I discovered that no, she's like a -2. And
Uh,
where'd she wind up? I think, where,
yeah, right
yeah,
there.
here she is. Yeah, she
Yeah.
fit more into these categories
Mhm.
once I did it on here. But when I did it on the other chart, it was very different. So I thought that was a fascinating revelation. So of course I had to go back through each chart, change the level, change the. So that was fun. She made me do some work.
You know, you really do have the
Mhm.
makings already of the three-dimensional, which, the
Yeah, and I thought about it today after I watched Gray's interview with Emma, his last one. It premiered 2 days ago. It's
oh,
5 hours long. I'm at about the 3 hour. I did like an hour and 20 and then like an hour and 40 last night. And I will say, I don't dislike the guy anymore.
well,
I'm still perplexed as to why he would use that
I
mask and
think he was
gloves.
just doing stupid dramatic stuff.
And I'm like, why would you do that? You're going to alienate so
But
many
that's
people and
that's
trigger so. I mean, I reacted, and I think I got a level of sanity going on, So I'm like, but anyway, like I said, I'm only 3 hours in, and he's already touched on 3 or 4 different areas of study that Alan discussed. And now
well,
he's discussing it because he discovered it and he's trying to convey it to the world. And they have, I think I think I think he's genuine in wanting to alert and wake people up, is what I got from him. And I'm able to get past the ski mask now. He's in a black ski mask with a black background, and it
uh,
doesn't even bother me, but um yeah, so yeah, those 3 hours of watching, I still have two to go. I learned some more detailed things and different connections that Alan didn't touch on. Um, and it got me thinking about, I woke up realizing, oh, that's how I can do the three-dimensional. You start with the seed and you have roots that grow and vines that come out. I put that in one of my journals. This is a brief. Plant was trying to show me how the programming worked. And
Oh,
how when you have the seed and then you split the seed and that part gets, stays, and then that splits off and that splits, but sometimes they can send their vines together to connect. Because Gray was talking about how they use the tree of life in the Kabbalah. He didn't mention the Kabbalah, but I learned that from Albert Pike's book, Morals and Dogma. But Gray was talking about how the occult people use it. And I started to see how in how it
the
works in
survivor
my
had
brain.
cut and paste of a tree. It looked like part of it had like a hillside had dropped away, and so it
Oh,
showed the trunk and
yeah,
fruit.
yeah.
She says that that continues to present itself in her memories and the program.
Yeah, yeah, because I see it as like a seed with plants that grow in vines and branches and just, because you know how vines can choke out other things
Right.
and whatever. As I'm watching my garden grow and my zucchini's choking out my green beans
Oh, oh,
because
oh.
because the leaves are so large and I didn't know because I've never grown zucchini. I mean, a zucchini leaf is this big. Oh, let me quickly show you this. This is my harvest
Oh,
last
look at
night this
you.
morning. Lettuce,
Wow.
green beans, green onions, tomatoes, peppers,
Look at you.
cucumbers. Oh, and I'll show you this.
Wow.
I'm so proud of it.
You're doing a wonderful job.
This is the zucchini that I cut this end off of. It was this
Oh,
night, and I cooked that one night, and I cooked this end the other night. It was 2.5 feet long. Look at
wow.
the size of that
Look
thing with
at
my
this.
hand. It's
Look at,
massive.
I'm telling you.
Never grown a zucchini before. I have a monster one now. So
Wow.
that's a lot of fun. Oh, let me feed my dog while I'm here. Oh, and my knee is much better. I keep using the red light on it.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I think it's, well, obviously going through the memories and
Yeah. Yeah.
de-stimulating them and doing
Right.
that has helped.
Well, again, to your credit that you're willing to let the memories come up. You're working
Yeah.
it through. You're getting out the rage. And so now
Yeah.
the body doesn't have to retain it. So
Oh, yeah. It's
you're
just a
doing
tiny little, really deeply internal spot, but at least I can walk without a brace and
there we go. There we go.
whatever. Sarge still says, stay off the bike. We're not gonna aggravate it. So I'm kind of glad I get a break. Okay, so I'm not sure why this doesn't let me go to the top of the document where the date is, but the date is 6:29. This is in the morning. Um, so 7:30, got up with the dog, a little tired. Chris is sleeping, of course. Out in the garden, chatting with the parrots. Oh, the song Rich Girl went through my mind again. And I was thinking about the time frame. Then it occurred to me, I wondered what music that they played during Circus Ann, during that military thing where they had us dress up like Raggedy Ann and different dolls, and we were dead, and they just whatever. And then she told me, she said, what was actual circus music? It's that da, 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 da. Did I read this one to you before?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, just wanted to make note of that. Why is this not working? My cursor will not move. Last night I probably had 5 different parts talking about how they could get back at Chris. I talked them out of it. Oh, I think I did read this. This was after we had that bad night.
Oh, oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm so glad God. Oh, yeah, I said I'm so glad God set me up the new computer 2 days ago so that I
Okay,
could
so
work
yeah,
in there.
we may not have gone through the whole thing. Okay, I'm tracking.
Yeah, and then I told you about Angie and Ted, what she said, and this is what was interesting. I also told her I had a picture of the three of us when we were little, and then a picture of mom. Before I look at it and I say, "This is for us, girls." And she didn't say anything. She just didn't. I'm sure her parts heard it and grabbed it and snatched it away.
Yeah.
But at least she's beating on Ted.
There you go. There you
So
go.
there's that.
Right? Don't be surprised, right? Once somebody starts getting in touch with their anger, it's gonna start to unlock stuff. So
I know, and
you,
I
you may
just,
have an opportunity to talk to her yet.
I know. She's just so desperate for a boyfriend, for a love, to love someone and to be loved, I think is really, I think she puts her effort into giving all her love, but doesn't get it back the way she needs it.
Having to get, but that's right. That's right.
And I told her, I said, Chris said something to me about that. He said, all three of you are very strong women. And I go, really? He goes, yeah, he's always told me that. And I got to thinking about that, and I thought, well, I chose a man, not an effeminized man, but a man who, in the early part of our relationship, we were goofing around the house and we started wrestling, and I was really putting up my best effort. And he just put me on the floor and laid on top of me. Didn't do anything else. He said, just be still. And all he had to do was lay on me and I couldn't move. And it got to the point I said, I can't breathe now. You gotta get up. And he did. But it's like my parts needed to know that that this was a man and he could handle me as gently as he could.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But to let me know you're not going to overpower me, you're not going to, whatever. And I think that's maybe what Mary and Angie do, is they're stronger than the men they pick. And
Sure.
Chris keeps saying that. He goes, she's picking pussies. And I said, I didn't tell her that. I told her
Yeah, no,
this.
that said as a military guy.
Yeah, and I said, Angie, maybe you need to start looking for men who are really men and manly. Go to the shooting range, hang out at the shooting range. I said, maybe a year from now, you're so adept with working on Ted, you start a kickboxing class.
Wow.
I said, try to find places where men are men. And I said, let them be a man. Let yourself be feminine. I like you.
See,
And just,
make a note of that one. That's going to have to be a talk in and of itself. Diana. Invaluable, what you just shared.
yeah, I don't know. When I had a realization about Danica, Desert Girl, and Edward, he was loving and sweet and wonderful, but I knew I could never tell him what happened to me because he wasn't, you know what I mean? And when I met Chris, all I knew is that he was a ranger, and that was enough. I'm like, okay, you're special forces. I know if anyone comes in that door, you're going to stop them dead. You know what I mean? So I needed that level of security to be able to accept him into my life.
Yeah,
But
probably immediately what goes through the average survivor's mind is if they think of a strong male, he's going to
they get
be
scared.
a
Yeah.
perpetrator. That's right. So for you to be able to
So
broach that topic, right?
yeah.
It's going to be invaluable. I mean, that's a very practical, real topic to help. It shows how in the here and now, how all of this stuff then comes to pass as far as driving a survivor to pick poor choices.
Yeah, yeah. And
That would
and
be a
she
very valuable topic.
she actually took my advice and watched Dr. Ramani, who focuses on narcissism. I don't know if you know of her, but
Yes, I've actually used some of
oh,
her.
that okay, yeah. She said, "Oh my God, I finally watched that love bombing one that you sent me. I totally understand X, Y, and Z. And why don't you just go on? I said, so stop watching your crap on HBO and pop her on every day.
Yeah.
Said start, you're going to know the red flags. You're going to learn the truth about how people manipulate. And you'll know, okay, you're off the table. I'm not wasting my time with you. Instead of getting sucked in by that love bombing and thinking you're going somewhere. I said, they're just testing you to see if they can manipulate you later,
There you
if
go.
you'll take their shit. She's like, but before that, when I sent it, she goes, I don't know. And I sent her a link to your thing about psychopaths and how and the title of it scared her off. It said, I think it said sexual predators. So
Oh,
I don't think that applies to me. And I said, well, just check out Dr. Ramani then. I said, but the other one about the sexual predators, it's not just about sexual predators. I said it's about recognizing how people take their conscience and turn it off. And you know, I explained kind of superficial different levels. I said you'll understand how people get to that level, but maybe you're interacting with someone, you know, on level two, you know, whatever. I said, just check it out. And no. That one was just way too close to
oh, I
home.
gotcha. Gotcha.
But maybe she will now that maybe she'll work with Dr. Ramani for a while. I'm going to buy her book, she says. I said, good, buy it.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Little by little, she's getting closer to right. You can't just like 17 years of you watching and doing the
Yeah, the Alan Watt, you know, he'd
yeah,
talk
you
about
can't get
pedophiles
close
and
to her.
predators, and it was enough.
There you go.
You know what I mean? For me to confront that surface level stuff, and then he'd get deeper and deeper. And I feel like I need to go back and spend 4 years listening to all of them again because I'm sure I missed stuff. So anyway, um, so that night, so this was yeah, today or so Thursday or Friday. Oh, anyway, Friday I was working on this on the three-dimensional thing, and he went out for a drive in the mountains. I was like, good, yeah. He was gone about 3 or 4 hours. He didn't have any phone service. It came back at dark and gets a call right away. There's an emergency at work. So he changed clothes. I packed him a lunch and or packed him dinner, and off he went.
Mhm.
So I said, so he's still out there slaying dragons. It was 11:15. He didn't get home till 2. Anyhow, I'm laying down to go to sleep and have a parts puddle. And he did say something before he went out. He said, I'm so glad I didn't drink today. Because if
Ooh.
he had, he wouldn't have been able to go there and take care of stuff, you know. So anyhow, I'm laying down to go to sleep having a parts puddle. I was hugging Jackie and Gumby. I had an image of Wizzy outside working magic with Grandma. She had thought what I thought was some sort of hat with a very large feather on it or something. Then I realized it was a spirit entering into her. She was watching Grandma, who had the same thing above her head, and Grandma was raising her arms while welcoming the spirit into her. I thought to myself, this is cool. If I could do this stuff, I'll just copy her.
Oh,
Wizzy is the part that I was having trouble pinpointing on my maps and impact and intensity. Today, I finally worked on the three-dimensional. When I did that, I realized she's not conscious and a 5, but she is subconscious and a -2. I don't know why, but I knew it was so
huh.
as I'm doing it. So they're just saying she's a -2. She's not a 5. So it wasn't even really her telling me, or maybe it was, I don't know. So I changed all of her data. Now she's showing me some things.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
I will show you the sketches that I made of her.
Awesome. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, journal batches. Okay, here we go. Oh no, I opened that up again. Oh, that's right. I gotta go. Here we go.
Okay.
Okay, so
Got a great.
that's
Yeah. Talk
Chuck. That this was the first picture. Now, I got grandma's picture she went in first. I went in second without the purple or yellow. We were both the same color. We were both in our robes. And I kept remembering that thing, and I thought was like a hat that it had this connection to her head. And I had one too, so I drew it. And then later I went back and realized, well, no, I can't be entered by a demon because a year or two prior, Jesus was in my body. He claimed me.
Good
So
for you.
that's not possible. And when I had that aha moment, I said, oh, spirit was there, the spirit of God, or my part that I call spirit. And I just started drawing her. And at first she had her hand blocking the bad spirit from entering me. And then
Huh?
I realized that she was encompassing my entire body,
Right.
the
That's
yellow and the purple, with Jesus. And even though my mind was focused on what grandma was doing,
yeah.
and she's saying, allow him in, and I'm trying to. But what I was allowing in was Jesus to
Correct.
protect me.
There we go.
So I thought that was cool. And first I put,
And it really shows you, Diana, spiritually speaking, if someone becomes possessed, that in a way they've chosen to be, they've wanted it,
because they haven't accepted,
right?
not that they have to be a Christian, but they have to accept the protection of God, the God,
There you go.
not
Yeah,
their country's God or whatever it is.
that's right. That's right.
So first I wrote Greta here, but then I realized, well, this isn't the part Greta. This is my actual grandmother. So I put that name there. So let me move this guy out of the way.
So you saw the demon enter into her.
Yes, she welcomed it. She, this is just the one where I put Greta and I scribbled it out. But when I first started, this little blob was about that big. And as I got going, I realized that it was the same blob trying to come both ways. But see how Spirit's her hair stopped that part. And then her finger stopped it from entering the top of my head.
What do
And
you remember? What do you remember it looking like?
just a black blob,
Very
no real
interesting, because
form.
I'll tell you what, Susan, Susan is spiritually sensitive as well, like you are. And she had a good friend, a coworker at work, a fellow teacher. And the friend's father-in-law was always mean and nasty, just nasty, just
Oh, you froze. You're frozen. Hello? Oh, shit. Well, I'm still going. Are you? Hello? There?
yeah. Oh, there we go.
Oh, good. Okay. Did you send it to me or did it just re-engage?
I think it may have just re-engaged. I didn't touch anything.
Okay, because I was just about to close everything out and send you another link, but good. You
There we
were
go.
saying Susan's friend's
Yeah, so
father-in-law was
Susan's
real
coworker,
mean and nasty.
yeah,
Yeah.
her friend, the father-in-law, hospice shortly before death. All of a sudden, Susan sees this image of a very black entity around his mind and his heart. And all of a sudden, it was removed for a brief period of time.
Oh, wow. Oh, you're frozen again.
Free
Oh,
vision. Gosh, now I
oh,
can
you're
hear you.
not frozen now. It was a couple seconds,
Okay.
but it
But
was removed.
so very similar, meaning it was black and it lifted
It's
and
just like this nebulous thing.
there you go. And so all of a sudden, then like 2 days later, or a short period of time later, her friend Sandy came to her and she said, "You can't believe this. because Susan was trying to say, it seems like this thing's going to be lifted and you will see the true him again. You know, whether not the guy ever accepted the Lord, who knows? But she said that
Right.
miraculously, just a couple of hours before he died, his whole attitude changed.
Oh, wow.
That
Yeah.
I've never, it's like, who is this guy?
Wow. That's
So
fascinating.
she described it just this black thing that he
Yeah.
covering
Yeah.
covering his heart, and all of a sudden it goes away. So that's why I was interested as you were drawing that, as you were describing that.
It's just like, yeah, this nebulous thing. Now, when I was in the castle, I could see eyes within the nebulous thing and
Yeah.
a mouth. But so yeah, that's Wizzy. I'll get to
But you
the other one later.
spiritually sensitive, Diana, and so the Lord's going to use that, right, to be able to give you um, words of knowledge. You'll just have that real sense that the average
Yeah, yeah.
going on in the spiritual realm. So that's super.
Okay. All right. So Wizzy, it says, I'm also getting a sense of Corky. He is justifying all of his false beliefs. So it occurred to me that I should do a pros and cons of what he was taught and what he believes. Wizzy and Krista too. I think this might clear things up for them. And it was dawning on me that Corky and Wizzy are tied together in the belief system that they can utilize the dark side in order to accomplish their goals. That's what they were taught.
Right.
I think Wizzy needs to talk with Krista, who followed that path and ultimately came face to face with a real demon, and also with the absolute fear and terror that she felt when she did so. So Krista is a split because she's separate from Wizzy. I thought she was an evolution. Well, I guess she is an evolution of Wizzy.
Okay.
The proof for me was that if there was a God, if it was from God, if it was of God and from God, the creator God, there would have been no fear. But ultimately, there was utter fear like I had never felt before. So I think that was the trauma, the split, that surprise, panic, fear that split me off from Wizzy, even though Krista was my real life alias in the new age. And we had felt some massive fear throughout our life, so we know what that's like.
And
But that fear,
remind me when you encountered the demon.
um, my early 30s,
But
early
what
30s.
remind me what
I was meditating, got into Buddhism. I was gonna go join an ashram. I had to meditate for 3 hours a day. So I started doing that and was doing the chant Nam Myoho Renge, not gonna say the rest of it.
yeah.
And it called down a demon, and I wrote Alan about it. And he was telling me, no, that's the purpose of doing that, is to call down demons. So I did it. And I didn't know what I was seeing. I just knew it was a bam, a face,
Oh, okay.
and it was right there. It scared the shit out of me, and I recoiled. I took myself out of the meditation, and I just said, no way.
Huh. So
So
you
in that
remember,
moment, and it said to me, I am the face of God. And
wow.
and instantly something, I just knew that fear that it couldn't be. I was very confused about it for a couple of decades
Oh,
until I talked to Alan about it. But when I went into Scientology, thought, oh, maybe that was the face of L. Ron Hubbard. And I
huh.
got out of there and I did
Yeah.
something else. Oh, maybe that was the face of blah, blah, blah. And
But
finally,
you remember this face appearing right in front of you.
oh, yes. It was, remember, I was meditating. I was out in space or the stars. It was a dark place. I thought it was out in space because there were stars all over, but then the stars coalesced together
Oh,
and slowly moved towards me and then just was right there, like right there. We were
oh,
almost nose to nose. He couldn't touch me. And just utter fear, John. I mean, a fear that was deeper than any of the SRA I ever experienced, ever. And I realize now in that moment, had I been beguiled and bewitched,
Yeah, yeah,
I would have been, oh yeah, come on in. I want your power, God. I want God. But I would have been accepting into me Satan, Lucifer, whatever you want to call it.
yeah,
And he would have guided me towards whatever power I wanted.
that's right.
And I was like, I knew that deep level gut fear, and this was worse. So I believe that was the split.
Yeah, yeah.
Now that I'm talking to you about it, yeah. So like utter fear like I'd never felt before. And we had felt some massive fear throughout our life, so we know what that's like. But this was different. This was so deep in the core of me that I knew I never was going to touch it again, and I never have. At least I think I never have. I do remember doing that vortex thing when Chris and I first got together, and then years later remembering it and undoing it. So I asked God for forgiveness for that. So at some point early in our relationship, Wizzy put a spell on Chris or on our relation or did something. She creates these vortexes, um, and does her spell. And I remember taking a bath. I had been listening to Alan for a few years, and and I was not even conscious of it until I recalled it in the tub, and I went, "Oh my God, well, I don't need that there." And I just said, "Be gone, done, over." And I think I asked God, God, just make this go away. And instantly did. And I think Chris proposed to me
Oh,
shortly afterwards.
is that right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah. So Wizzy was still farting around with stuff, and I was unaware.
Mhm.
Wizzy knew what she was doing, and Corky backed her up. But if
Yeah,
I, the conscious Diana, knew what had been going on, I would have never allowed it. Just like I never allowed continue on with that path of Buddhism and accepting that river and ultimately seeing that face. That face said it was the face of God.
wow.
I knew that could never be because of the utter fear so deep in my course. So you guys chew on that for a while. If you think that's God, it's not. I said, if it was truly God, there would not have been any fear. And we know that because of Dream. Dream wrote down the experience she had with Jesus, and there was no fear at all. There was only love, joy, peace. Grace, my gut, knew very clearly that it was not Jesus. So if Dream, Gut, and Krista could start speaking with Wizzy and Corky, that'd be a great help.
Mhm.
So Tazzy and Scratchy could use some instruction as well. And Taz and Scratchy can share their experience with Jesus just a week or two ago and what Jesus showed them, what I told you in our parts puddle, how we were tearing apart the fake Jesuses and they went to black goo down to hell. But
That's
when
right.
they got to Mom and got to the real Jesus, they were spirit. And there was, so they know too that who the true God is. So Wizzy was with her grandma in her room where she did all her witchcraft. She put a ball of herbs in a teacup, poured hot water over it, then she had Wizzy drink it. Wizzy got all giddy, excited, and enthusiastic, so she drugged me. Then they went outside and did spells and such. That's when Grandma taught Wizzy how to call down demons, and they entered their bodies. This was before I did the sketches. Although Wizzy, you should know that that's not possible because Jesus claimed you much earlier than that. Anyhow, she got some terrible gastrointestinal problems later on from that. They last for a few days and diarrhea. Corky, you should be aware that Dad always had you smoking marijuana or eating marijuana, and then he would give you your lessons from the Bible, but those lessons were lies. So I just wanted to clear up for them. These weren't genuine experiences.
Yeah, yeah,
They were drug induced.
yeah.
I said, so just realize that Jesus doesn't need to drug you like those two in order for you to be able to feel and hear and know him. Only the devil would have used elixirs and spells to enchant and beguile you into believing. He
That's right.
uses music as well. have Betty talk to you about that song, about that with this song, My Sweet Lord. They're not talking about the Lord Jesus, they're talking about Hare Krishna. So I'm having this conversation, said, look, these parts know better. So, start chatting with each other.
Yeah, good for you.
And then this was about scratching Taz, telling them about, the cutting apart the fake Jesuses and interacting with the real one. I said, so with all of that evidence, I hope you can see that you were lied to and convinced otherwise. And I hope to show you a difference between the lies and the truth. And you are more than welcome to go and speak with Spirit and Jesus himself. He would welcome it. So, oh, I said, on that note, you can go ask Lance what he thinks. He was also lied to think that that was the only way he could accomplish his work was to embrace Lucifer himself. He has since rethought that and thinks something else now. He believes in Jesus and knows that his power comes from Jesus. Siggy, I can feel you in there being pessimistic and negative.
Good for you.
I think you need to start thinking about whether you believe in God or not, God the creator, Jesus. And when we list out the pros and cons, I'd like for you to pay attention to what not believing in Jesus entails and what believing in Jesus entails.
Yeah.
And I just want to say to everyone, thank you for giving me a good night's sleep last night. It was very much appreciated. And the nap this afternoon as well. I took a 3-hour nap, had 8 hours of sleep. I believe that's what allowing me to be up now and not be bothered by it. So not being bothered by it, I can listen to you and dictate your conversations with me. Oh, and thank you all who helped me with the 3-dimensional PowerPoint today. I feel good that we got that done. Thanks for all your feedback. And then I did the sketches of Greta's Spirit and Wizzy. And then that led into these other sketches, which I need to show you. So let's see. I guess we'll just do one at a time. Now, at first I wrote David and I scratched that out. That's Dad. It's not my part David. It's my father. I still am intermingling now. But he's smoking a joint, blowing it into my mouth. I'm coughing, smoke all over the room. And but the yellow and the purple, because I had done the sketches before with Wizzy and Spirit being yellow and purple, I realized, oh, I was protected then as well. He's got his Bible there, he's got his SRA box there, he's got the battery with the electrocution wires and stuff. So Shotgun was showing me stuff, and this is just me writing over. I put Dad instead of David. It's the same picture. And then this picture came, and I realized he had a needle on his workbench too, with the S. And I scratched out David and put Dad there. And and I wrote on Bible study, underline, because that's what he called it. So he's got this demon entering into him. That's why I originally drew him peach, like skin color, like me. But then I was like, no, he's all filled with all this nasty crap, and he's using his demon by the name of Corky to teach me while I'm drugged. And so I'm thinking this is where Pins split off into Corky.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's just like the serpent in the, he's
Yeah.
quoting God, he's twisting it around.
Yeah. And here's Spirit covering me so
Yeah.
that I don't take in this demon, because her rays are like saying, try it, buddy, try it. And it couldn't get.
Do you remember seeing a demon at that time as well?
No, I think because I was just so drugged out and I was just down there. And like again, I drew this whole thing without Spirit there. And I went back and realized they were like, no, go back, you're not done. I'm like, okay. They're like, you know how you put spirit in there with Wizzy? I said, yeah, do it again, they said. And so first I just had her here, and they're like, no, your whole body, your whole body. And they made sure to make these rays touch that black so I could see this would not allow it in. And
Yeah,
it really hit me how protected I have been
that's right.
spiritually, maybe not physically, emotionally, mentally, but spiritually. And I'm like, wow, that's a big deal, you
Yeah,
know? So that really hit me when I was doing these. So it's the same one, except I scratched David out and put Dad.
yeah.
What is this one? Oh yeah, the Bible study. Same one. Oh, and I showed you that one. And here's the final one. Shotgun wanted to show me what he looked like. His eyes were all, fucked up from the drugs. My hair was all hanging in my face. It says Bible verse, Bible verse, Bible verse, Bible verse, Bible verse nonsense. This is Dad trying to. And I thought it was funny when I took the picture that this shadow wound up in the location.
Oh, yeah, it
And,
did.
and that's me with my hand with my phone. But when you look at the picture,
Yeah,
it's like perfectly illustrating Dad's silhouette somehow.
that's right. Wow.
So it's like, well, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those were the sketches. And there's 7 there, but it's just a scratch out with the new name. So that was cool. So I can get rid of that. Save. 11:30. Okay. So this is the next morning. I went to sleep after I did the sketches and slept pretty well. I had about 6 hours sleep, but I feel okay. Glad I had that nap yesterday. And hopefully I'll get one today. Chris didn't get home till about 1:30 in the morning. He told me no, it was like 2 or 2:30. I said it must have been quite an emergency going on. Still have a sharp pain in the top of my knee left side, but the other deeper pains seem to have worked themselves out. It's actually the surface ones. I'm glad because this has been going on for about 3 weeks now. When I first got out of bed, it was pretty sore, but now I've been walking around outside for a while and I'm not limping quite as much.
Wow.
When I did the sketches last night, it's funny because spirit was the last thing I saw. In my mind, all I saw was the awful parts. And then as I flipped the page, something said, no, go back, there's more. So that was quite revealing. In the moment back then, I had no idea, but she wanted to make sure that I knew. She wanted to make sure that all the other parts knew. So that made me feel very special that God watched over me like that. And I was not alone, even though I thought I was.
Yeah.
I said, it's funny. I was just thinking, why would they continue on messing with me when they knew that Jesus had entered my body and said, this child is mine? And it occurred to me it was to mock God and see if they could knock it out of me.
That's right. That's right.
That was when I was 3. And when I was 4, that's when Wizzy came about and Corky, and they clouded my mind because I had blocked out the memory of that ritual by then. So I had no recollection of it. So later on, they could cloud my mind even more and unlock it at the same time. These people just don't give up. And so therefore, we cannot give up. This is spirit, right? I thought I was saying that, but spirit saying, no, that was me.
Yeah.
And the skin on my eye seems to be a little bit better and a little less thick and a little less surface here. So the red light seems to be doing its job. But I also think it has more to do with the healing that I'm going through. That
Mhm.
scales were put on my eyes. And as I remember more and more and more, the scales are removed.
Wow. That's right.
I just wish it could be done forever. But who knows how long the memories will come. Actually, the memories will be there forever. Just the recall of them is what's the hard part. So
That's
in
right.
that moment, I realized it's recall that's upsetting. But once you recall it, then the memory gets to be co-conscious with you, and you can tap into it and out of it as you choose.
You
So that
make a
was,
note of that. That's going to be super important for survivors to know,
yeah, I actually discussed that in my video.
right?
The one I did, yeah.
That's one of the greatest fears when
Is
they're in
the
the midst of,
shock of the recall
there you go. There
and
you
the
go.
emotional impact. And maybe I'll send you that video.
Okay, perfect.
But yeah, so this was yesterday. I added this morning. So the names. So all day long I've been having that song, The Love Shack, go through my head. I had images of more than just those three boys and one girl. I have a recollection of the main boy calling his buddies at his frat house and inviting them over. I think there were ultimately 15 to 20 different boys that were gang raping me. I had on the dog collar and was passed from one person to the next. I recall it was about a 4 or 5 hour ordeal. When I think back now how Betty destroyed her environment when the acid ate up the house, and I saw about 15 or 20 different shadow people around the pit falling in. I believe it was those 15 or 20 different boys from his frat house. I kept thinking that they were connected with the mob side of things, but now I realize it's more connected with that boy's frat house.
So is this still the son of the mobster?
Yeah, yeah.
And when do you think that did they bring him over? Were they in that room?
Yeah, yeah. I think I was maybe I split, disassociated, was just out of it. I don't know.
So
But
in that event, in that, you know,
there were more people than just the four of them. Yeah. I think it started off with the four of them, and then oh, I'm just realizing right now, then it turned into a 15 or 20 different person thing, and Kitten jumped in because Kitten could handle that. I just now made that connection. So I don't think Betty split. I think Betty started to disappear, and Kitten said, "All right, I'll come help you."
can you imagine that many psychopaths that are
And
caught up?
there's a frat house that, can you imagine calling them? Hey man, we're gang banging someone, come on over. And
They're,
they were excited to get there,
they're all
rushed
psych-
over.
they're all psychopaths.
Yeah, yeah. So
It's unbelievable.
yeah. So I kept thinking, why is that song still going on? And Betty's like, I'm not done yet, Diana. It's like, okay. She goes, I needed to get off of the bitch identity and be Betty before she was willing to talk about that. So that was interesting that they have different levels of comfort communicating once they change their name.
Okay.
It's like they feel safer now. So okay, I'll tell you the rest.
Huh?
And the
Oh,
song's gone. The
that's a
song-
key piece to share as well.
yeah, the song's gone. So I worked on Ted today, and Greta and Gerald, now his grandma and grandpa parts, took quite a few blows. They were quite furious. Oh, and you saw that. Yeah. So I'm taking a bath right now, and they're telling me that that is when they were supposed to hurt other people when they came into being. They split off from, I'm not sure which part. My first thought was Lance, but he's older than they are. So grandma would want me to kill things, and Jackie couldn't take it. She's telling me she split off and copied what grandma did. Perhaps it was Sarah, because Sarah was Scar, who had to sacrifice the little baby.
Yeah.
The same thing when I had to hurt boys. Gerald came into being. Those were during the rituals with grandma and grandpa. Grandpa would want me to use a cattle prod on boys in their butts. And Gerald split off from Greta to be able to do it.
That's right. That's right.
So Greta was made to pinch the girls' breasts, bite their tongues, rape them with hard objects, rough objects. And if I wasn't doing it hard enough or mean enough, she would smack me and ask me if I wanted to trade places with
Oh,
them.
yeah.
And I did not want to. The same thing with Grandpa. If I didn't do it the way he wanted it done, the threat was always that I would be put in their place. I would be put
Gosh.
in their place. I had to become very selfish in order to not be tortured and raped.
Well, oh, now this is an interesting thought, Diana.
Your scale of selfishness and conscious and your your
But here's a very interesting thought for future journaling or even today is taking this paragraph, then cutting and pasting it, and at some point in time replacing selfish with numb.
okay.
Because it starts out feeling, it feels like, meaning to look at it, just like you said, well, on the chart, I'm doing this, but ready? You were forced, and so this is
Yeah.
right. You had to go numb.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Big
So it
difference.
wasn't
Big difference.
cauterizing my conscience.
No,
It
no,
was okay.
right? But
They
that'll be
were
such,
thinking,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, it was self-preservation.
There you go. Big
Yeah.
difference, right?
Yeah.
That's so that'll separate out the difference between guilt is always specific to what somebody had a choice versus shame. So the
Hmm.
key to healing that part and placing responsibility back where it belongs, meaning the perps, you're going to whack them for this, which is you were never selfish. You were terrorized, and therefore you went numb. You, in a terrorized state, were doing things
Did
that
it. Just yeah, you become that mechanical, numb
there,
obedience.
huge difference, right? It makes all the
Okay.
difference in the world.
I didn't even think of that. I
Yeah.
kept thinking I was
But
losing
see
my
that'll be the
conscience.
reason why I'm suggesting cut and paste and because that's how every survivor who had to do something to somebody else right there, that's how they feel. But then to watch maybe even the sentence, do it in a PowerPoint in a video and watch just transform the word selfish to let's say I became very terrorized and then numb in order to torture the rape. That would be very powerful to be able to see truth emerge for that as you're describing that, because that's going to be the key to your freedom, right? To be able to see that, okay, wait a second, you mean so I wasn't psychopathic? No, they were psychopathic, you weren't. You were going into a
Okay, that's a
traumatized state.
huge difference.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
that's
makes all the difference in the world. That's right. That's why you're eligible for forgiveness, because just like Paul said, he did it in ignorance as far as his persecution. This is a totally different thing because he was still an adult acting on his own. But so if Paul, who called himself the chief of sinners, could be forgiven as an adult doing what he did, he still did it out of ignorance. You guys did it out of coercion and you were traumatized. So that's the key. This is the most difficult of all issues to be able to work through. But what you wrote to then allow that superimposed truth to come through, that's going to set survivors free.
okay. All right, good. I'm putting on a notepad so I don't forget it.
Yeah.
Okay, numb, coercion, trauma. I gotta spell check that.
And
All right,
terrorized.
terrorized. Okay, I can put that on there. So,
Well, that's real. And so the key to working through the terror and the trauma is rage.
okay, all right. Awesome. Okay.
That's such a key. Good for you, right? Because that's such false guilt. But you being in, it's so close to the forest for the trees. Meaning, there's nobody as a kid who's forced into that can have the perspective. It's going to take an outside perspective looking in. Somebody like me in your life to be able to say, "Here's the truth." So that it can finally free you from that. So that's a really super important. I'm glad we're talking about it now for you.
Oh, good. Yeah,
There you go.
I just thought I became selfish.
No, no, not at all.
Okay. So here's the next realization as I'm laying in the tub, relaxing, feeling good. Angie and Mary were two of the girls that I had to hurt. And each of them in turn was made to hurt me. Or no, we had to hurt each other. It was like this round robin. I was reading something about torture that they had done in Romania to priests, and how they would have three of them standing together, right? They'd all be facing the same way. Well, the second one had to push the first one over. The third one had to push the second one on top of him. So you got this whole body weight falling on you. And then the third one, I'm not sure how, but he was made to fall onto the other two. And then they'd get back up and they'd switch positions and do it again, over and over and over. And there were these other tortures that they went through, but they would put them in groups of threes and make them torture each other. And if they didn't do it well enough, they were double, triply tortured. So that made me think of this, or this made me think of that. All three of us were made to rape each other violently and rip apart their nipples. As we got older, Dad encouraged it. One time we were having a fight in the house, Mom was trying to get us to stop. And out of the corner of her eye, Dad was nodding, yes, go ahead. It's like, yeah. I guess out of the corner of
Oh my
my
God.
eye. My eye. When it got to a fevered pitch, Dad got up and put steak knives and said to go at it. Mom was beside herself. I freaked out, put my knife on the table and backed up. Angie and Mary were still at each other's throats with the knives. They weren't swinging them or anything, but they held them. Mom took the knives out of their hands. Her and Dad argued about it later that night. No wonder we did nothing but argue for the rest of our lives. And we did. We still argue to this day. Angie and I, not so much, but yeah. So Jackie wants her new name to be Caroline. She just popped that in there. That's all she wanted me to know.
Okay.
Gerald and Greta are not quite ready to snuggle with me in the parts puddle, but they were willing to sit on the bed with me. And they are in and part of the group. They even threw out an excellent idea, and everyone is going up and patting them on the back and shaking their hands because it's a fantastic idea. Alan has 2 videos that he made 20 years ago. The first one is a free download. The second one is $20. You pay for it and get it. But I thought, why have we never put that on our YouTube channels? It's a free download. Why make people go to the website and find it accidentally?
Oh, good.
It's eye-opening. For me, it was earth-shattering. Not earth-shattering, but it broke me out of a paradigm. And I thought, what the hell are Melissa and I screwing around with? We need to put this on YouTube. So that was the first idea. And that came from Gerald. That came from Gerald and Greta.
Huh.
And I think when I watched that video, it reached down to them. And that's why it was so, paradigm shifting, because they're like, yeah, that's a great video. They know it. And then after that, they also suggested I post Alan's Sweet Liberty audios in order because they're things he did 20 years ago. A lot of people really don't touch them, but he goes into ancient religions and such, and he talks more about demonology and different things. And I thought, duh, people in SRA are going to get it. Maybe Melissa's audience, they not so much so, but I'm like, SRA people are going to gobble this up.
There you go. Good for you.
And there's like 100 of them. And then I even got the image of what it should look like. It's just going to be exactly what it is. I'm not going to put any intro and exit, nothing, except maybe the Sweet Liberty logo with Jackie Petru is her name, with interviewing Alan Watt. And they just talked over the phone or shortwave radio, I think. So it's this really kind of crappy audio, but you could still hear it.
I think I've heard one of the, she kept answering the phone or something during one of the.
Yes.
Oh gosh.
Makes it a little more real, a little more
Yeah, I
relatable.
remember that. Okay. Huh.
But I thought, well, what kind of visual could I put with that? And all of a sudden, it's something that Chris watches, and I was like, well, we'll use those. He watches people going in their Jeeps, driving through the forest, maybe 20, 30 miles an hour, pull over, have some lunch, get back in, drive some just off-roading, but not crazy off-roading.
Yeah.
You know, I thought, well, yeah, I'm taking them on a journey.
Oh, I like it. I like it.
Right? So they get a visual that's calm and they get to see the trees and stuff, but they're auditorially, it's going in and they can think about it.
Yeah.
So it's peaceful. It's not gray with the fucking mask on
Right.
going like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm like, the information's going to soak in a little easier.
Good for you.
And they're, maybe hour shows, so that it's not too much at once. So, and because they will be going for a calm ride, but still, I love the idea. Thank you, Greta and Gerald. I almost forgot. It was Alexi's idea, executioner, to do reality check. So thank you, Alexi. Everyone is so excited. We can't go to sleep yet, which is just fine with me. I love them all. And my heart is just so open right now. So I'm lying there, I'm hugging like 30 people. And just my heart was just open. I'm like, wow, this is fantastic. This is awesome. I said, and maybe, 10 minutes later went by. I started to feel a little hungry, and I thought, I've been meaning to record this, and hot dog, I'm very sorry that I haven't, but I've been getting hungry around 11 or 12 o'clock at night all the time now. And sometimes it's 2 in the morning. But rather than go chow down on a hot dog, I'm okay with just having a little 30 or 50 calorie piece of protein, like a couple bites of cold fish or something, or just drinking some water, just enough to take the edge off feeling hungry so I can go to sleep. So hot dog doesn't feel a need to stuff his face with stuff.
See, okay, okay.
And also, Siggy is telling me that she's not necessarily a negotiator, which is what I thought she was. The image is of her standing between worlds and connecting them. So, like a vine. So, it's basically the SRA world on the early side, then training camp with the CIA stuff, and then the military world.
There you
She's
go.
the go-between, right? Who's got this skill? Come on over here.
Yeah.
And it made me think of Gray's presentation of how they took the tree of life, the occult aspect of it, and did scientific experimentation to prove it, number one, and then utilize it using scientific methods. So they're using scientific methods to make the occult more powerful.
There we go.
That's what I got out of what he talked about last night. So, but she's the go-between. She accesses the parts from different worlds and relays that to parts in other worlds from one age group to the other. So she stands as a connection between the different worlds. The worst of the worst when we were young, the worst of the worst when we were preteen, and then that awful stuff in the military. She is a liaison. She works with file clerk, but since her name is Fiona now, and has a different focus, Siggy is starting to rethink her name and her purpose. But she still wants to be a liaison between worlds.
You're describing really the COO.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
and, here she is.
there they are. This is one of your key groups in here.
And now I'm wondering if maybe this isn't a split because when I dictate it into the phone, it dictates as Ziggy. And she kind of digs that. But a couple weeks ago, she chose the name Juliet. So I don't know if this is another part or if it's just didn't really care for Juliet and she's digging Ziggy. And I'm like, well, Ziggy is pretty close to Siggy. Are you sure you want to do that? So she's kind of debating it right now.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah, but
said,
you're really at that COO level
okay.
here. This is
Wonder,
core
where
group.
did I put her
Right,
there?
you're going to be right in there.
Oh, see, Siggy's not even here.
Did Siggy
Okay.
wonder if you were going to put her in there?
I just did. I'm gonna have to change her on the maps or the graphs and stuff, but yeah. Because depending on the emotional impact, she might be in the wrong category altogether, which I think she is. I think I got her.
Well, and what's tricky is, right, that one part can do another, but ultimately,
Yeah,
in terms
yeah.
terms of the
Oh, see, I think I have her.
control panel, right, those are the
Oh,
key.
because she's Juliet in
Because
here.
if one of those COO parts say it ain't happening, guess what? It ain't happening. So they have the power to
Exactly.
open the floodgates
Yeah.
or not, right? Almost like, yeah, the train switching the tracks, like air traffic control. It's ultimately if they say stop, everything's going to shut down.
Yeah, see, I have her at the subconscious level. So she's way deeper.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, like I said, I need to figure out if it's two different parts first.
yeah.
So Ziggy did send Ziggy connected Gerald and Greta with Alan in video because they talked about that stuff on the video. And video is connected with the children who were on film and also with Donald and Stephen who are comfortable in front of an audience.
There we go.
So that was cool. And is that those are all the journals.
Wow.
So oh, we're right at 12, so good. But yeah, I'm gonna have to figure this out for sure.
Isn't it something that's really very intuitive, the feel of,
Yeah, because yeah, it's funny too. It's kind of my paperwork girl in there. Her name is what did her name become? Oh, Piper. She likes Piper. Paper went to Piper.
oh.
But she's like, God damn it, now I gotta change 7 different documents. And I'm like, I know,
That's
but you'll
funny.
handle it. You'll
Yeah,
handle it.
that's
You know,
funny. That's funny.
it's like Puzzle built them, but Piper keeps them up to date.
Yeah, yeah.
Or
No,
not Puzzle, her name is Penny. Penny built. Anyway,
okay.
yeah. Anyway, so that's funny.
And that'll be a very interesting. You probably are already thinking about something like this, but to show the various versions or evolution of this over time, I could
Yeah,
see a
because you think it's
PowerPoint.
one way.
I could see a PowerPoint presentation where either one by one, that would be a very interesting version of it, where you already have it, right? But to overlay, so as somebody's watching it, before you know it, we're seeing their names change right in front of our eyes.
Yeah. Yeah.
In this, and so it just will help. I think that's very powerful for someone to
Yeah. When
begin
you
to watch
change
how
their
many times we've
names.
got these name changes going on.
Oh, and it's so difficult to keep up with. My God, I need to like print out a chart or write it on my arm or something.
Right?
Ooh, like, oh,
Diana, it's
God.
also going to show survivors, I think two things. One, that there's hope. There's an end, meaning, okay, we're marching down the field as we keep going. This is what we can anticipate, but also, so it gives them hope, but also holds them accountable that if somebody really thinks, like, I've got to, bless her heart, I'm working with a survivor. As a matter of fact, the very first chart I showed, right, the inner world, how hers went from the
Yeah. Yeah.
stick figures to, okay, she's still in touch with her mother. And I think
Ah,
her mother's a perpetrator. And so she
she
just this
doesn't think her mom is
she and I have
though.
been working for 2.5 years. And she's still barely, she finally said,
Has
okay,
she written anything down? Made
she
any?
writes it, but it's still that the cult parts are still very active. So 2.5 years later, she said this just last night. It's like, well, okay, I think there's parts.
Oh wow, 2.5 years and she
But
just
no wonder.
recognized part.
Okay,
Wow.
her family's from Pittsburgh. That's where all the perpetration took place. As a matter of fact, she's drawing or a part of her. She passed out the other day, but she's drawing a picture like you're looking from the inside. It looks like a big, large drain pipe, construction grade of a tunnel in Pittsburgh. I get a little text from a part saying, I remember the tunnels.
Wow.
All of a sudden now there's a silhouette of a child running out of a tunnel. So we worked with that last night. But Oh, and so she had to go, she was taking a trip up there.
Driving?
She almost got in an accident. She realizes that truckers were being able to watch her. I mean,
Oh my
she's
goodness.
out of control. The closer she got to the city, so she wasn't sure what the heck was going on, but that sexualized part was just numbing her while she's driving.
Oh my
So
God.
it
Yeah.
shows you that if a part of you is right, so what you're showing people is, listen, here's the hope, here's the progress, here's the process, but here's how much time it's going to take. And you're either
Yeah.
going
You're gonna
to,
spend 6 hours putting a fucking Excel document together,
but you're still
and then it's gonna change.
look at the intensity, look at the dedication. So you're also, it's like Sarge is telling people, listen, you want to join the army. Okay,
You gotta
here's
go through boot camp.
there, there.
Yeah.
And so there's a good example. 2.5 years into, maybe almost 3 years, I've been working with this gal.
Oh, I'm
And
still so sad for her then. I mean,
and she had insurance. That's when I was working with Teledoc. And so I probably did twice a week, 2 hours a week for 2 years. And look at where she's at. So she just would, because she's now I'm really realizing she's in touch with mom all the time.
oh yeah, see, I don't have
Mom's a
any.
perpetrator. I think mom trafficked her. I know mom did. So it just there's a
How
good.
old is she?
She's probably 33.
Oh, yeah, 33. I wasn't in a good place either.
But
But I
it
wasn't doing that.
but what your process, what you're producing, I think can also add that degree of accountability, saying, okay, here's the roadmap to freedom,
You've got
but you
to
got to
put
be
it on
serious.
paper. You have to see it outside of you. You
That's
know what
right.
I mean? I mean, I don't know if I got to thinking about this. I thought, well, if someone is still so their parts are taking over their present time, they're not going to be able to do any of this.
Right. That's
So
right.
it's the conscious one that has to do it.
You got to take that step. And that's why your work is so seminal. It's you're really doing, right? You're just doing what you need to do.
I
But
just wonder if it's too fast for others to keep up with, but I'm going to present it
it's going to be
slowly.
so, me as a coach, so to speak, I'm telling you, I just want you to know what you're doing. I don't have any other clients that are as far along as you are.
Well, I got to tell you, John, the more I think about it, doing the channel, and once I get, I'm still back in November reading my journal, so it'll be 2 or 3 more months before I even get to meeting you. That I could watch our videos and take notes, but I think it would be more effective for people to just watch us have a session. I don't know because
That's your call.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I'll interview you before I ever get to that state, but I don't know that it would. I forget the word that you used. We talked about this once that I shouldn't mention that you're my counselor.
That's always up to the client, whatever they want, because
Yeah, I would. I don't know. I just think it would be more effective because it will lose context. Do you know what I mean? Because they'll hear me reading my journal and see it up on the thing. And granted, I don't have our first two or
I'm your
three,
coach.
but
Right? We'll just call it coach, kind of, or whatever. But however you want to,
and
yeah,
it's not with the aim to bring clients to you, which I'm pretty sure it will,
yeah.
but it's with the aim of showing people how you can give me things that never dawned on me. You know what I mean? Like you just did with the how I felt selfish. Well, no, let's reframe it. And I know my parts are listening and they're going, oh, right. Yeah, we were made to do it. I wasn't being selfish. I was being fucked with.
Uh, Perfect. Right there.
Yeah.
There you go.
I mean, however many thousand different words you're going to use, but yeah, either I would be tortured worse or be the torturer. You know, it's like save yourself, you know, yeah, you're saving yourself, but
Right. That kind of dilemma, moral dilemma, is hard enough for an adult
yeah,
child.
my God. And you're under, and something that Gray went over as well. Was it Gray? Somebody, yeah, he was talking about how they intentionally start the conditioning. I think he uses the word programming early. They said because it has to happen in the formative years. They know it. It has to happen then. And that's why they do it. So that by the time you hit 9 years old, you know, you're already in, you have all the little parts necessary, and then they just build on it.
That's right.
So yeah, I think I want to go that route, but I'll ponder it longer. I've got weeks to go. But
That's right. Well,
yeah,
if anybody can organize and get a sense, right, that's where your
I
person.
guess, yeah, that's that's part of what Wizzy does is she can take all the crap, flow it around and drop it where it's supposed to be. An organizer does the same process in the material world.
You know, this just came to mind. It's very interesting what I'm seeing, kind of on my end, as I'm working with a number of folks from ultimately when I started with Emma's program. And it was interesting. I never anticipated having a full caseload of all, well, people's
Oh,
parts.
wow. That's
Obviously,
God bless you keeping track of all the different
okay.
parts. Holy
So it's
cow.
just interesting as Lord's timing. And it's nice. I feel like, fortunately, little by little, I'm going to be able to, well, I'm working with the perps, but it's nice to, it's nice to be able to focus more on survivors than perps and psychopaths.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'll tell you
Sure,
what's
it's more
going on.
rewarding.
Well, she has the right attitude. She said, John, I want to use this. Well, she just came into she purchased it, a piece of property, and there's a little backstory that people who were manipulating her, now she's got the property. So she has a multiple acre piece of property that has RV hookups, and so she can use this piece of property. And I was telling her, listen, the Lord's going to give you a future and a hope. Um,
She could help people escape their,
well, even more than that, she would like to do a kind of a therapeutic retreat.
oh my
She's
goodness.
reached out to Amy Pfeffer.
I,
And so it might be interesting, who's been on Emma's program, very competent, as well as working with survivors. But it's just interesting. There's the potential. So as you're doing your channel, the question is, where is somebody to go? Where are survivors to go to really, because there has to be some sort of therapeutic retreat. Where can you go to get help? So it's
yeah,
very interesting that something in the background now potentially is being built to where, as somebody is reviewing your channel and stuff comes up, where do people go? So the behind the scenes, I'm starting to see maybe what the Lord's doing. And if that's starting to come to pass, then I'll connect the two of you.
okay, all right. Well, I
Well,
feel like I'm making the technology and she'll have the location
you're putting together the curriculum.
or curriculum,
Right?
sure. Yeah.
I mean, here's like where to go from beginning to end. So just as I kind of drew out the football field, okay, beginning, middle, and end. Well, here's the playbook. You're
Yeah.
drawing out,
Yeah.
right? In order to make progress, you keep working on this stuff. And so it's and
Yeah. And people
she also
have
has
to
a
be,
TED. She purchased a TED.
oh, good on her. Yeah. Well,
Both of you.
maybe she'll start.
I'm doing kind of the pro and con thing with her. We're just very methodically. I'm going with what she knows, and that she herself, that all parts know these very basic things that it's beyond dispute. mom allowed dad, what kind of mother is going to, just these very basic things are enough to start to say, okay, wait a second. Even at that basic level, that's pretty darn, there's no way to color that a different color. No mother that allowed that. So it's
Yeah.
very basic. We're allowing what everybody knows and agrees with that are facts. We're allowing the weight of that to sink in. It's very much coming out of that cult. It's
Oh
just
my God. Do you, I, I was, when I left the corporate world and started my own business, you know what the focus was? Tutoring.
I'm telling you, Diana, right? It's so
I mean, I
just
was using Scientology technology and whatever, blah, 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 but I just wanted to help people learn how to learn. And it just hit me. Oh my God, we're doing it now.
so right. It's like we'll never underestimate what the Lord's doing. But so you're doing your
Yeah.
piece. So on my end, because I'm working with these different survivors at different levels, it just occurred to me, it's like, because where is someone to go? So it's I could see that maybe the Lord's building a retreat center where who knows what this gal had
You
provide.
could buy, inexpensive, trailers and put
Well,
them,
and that's what I've also just been sending to her
hook
because
them
that's
up
a
and,
gracious heart. She just wants, I could see a scenario where she provides scholarships, even airfare. So she screens them,
oh,
and then while there, it's then an intensive time
how would she
using.
screen them if she's in the place that she's at? I mean,
Hopefully, as she's going to work it through, then she could still screen it. It's one of those dichotomy right now. She knows what to screen.
yeah, yeah.
Hopefully, once she finally, she's right on the edge of it finally sinking in that she doesn't want any contact with mom. It's really close. She used to be talking with mom on a daily basis. Now it's once every couple of weeks. So it's
Oh,
already.
good. Yeah, that just reminds me of my sister Mary. I mean, Angie and I have had to block her because it's just to see the number. I mean, you talk to her for a while, but it always gets to a point where just to see the name pop up is anxiety. And I'm
Absolutely.
like, you know what? I'm not playing that game. I'm done. I don't need to argue. Yeah.
Well, either just know, I just really watch, and I mean the work you're doing. I'm working with like a couple of champions. So you guys, but I mean it's like, okay, hold on here. Wait, this is like really groundbreaking stuff that people are doing. So you're
Oh,
like,
thank you. Yeah.
so we'll trust that one way or the other, right? The Lord's going to really use your efforts. Your pain is not going to be in
Well,
vain.
and it wouldn't be possible without all of the parts,
There we go.
all of them,
That's right.
all of them. I think, good Lord, if I hadn't had that happen, I wouldn't have this skill,
That's right.
you know? I'm like, wow. So you gotta embrace, as it says, embrace the suck.
You know,
But after a while, it doesn't suck.
that's right.
So,
Well, let me pray.
all right.
Wow. Lord, thank you so much for being in the midst of our session. Lord, we always need that. We do. We can't do this on our own. We don't want to. We need your wisdom. Thank you for being the wonderful counselor and the great physician. So, Lord, thank you for guiding Diana. Thank you for continuing the healing process. Lord, bring truth to those parts that are still either laden with shame, with false guilt. Help them separate out the difference, right? Give truth to them. And also to those parts that are still angry with you, those parts that are still confused as to whether or not dad was hurt people kind of thing, acting out of his hurt, or that he was sadistic. So continue to help them just methodically work that through. The good news is they don't need to be rushed as far as coming to a conclusion, but still that'll be the key to their healing. So guide Diana as she works with her parts in that very methodical process. Continue to give her insight, give all the parts clarity so that Diana can continue to put together these different models, these different charts. Number one, for her own freedom, but then we will know that you are, or we know that you will use that in the lives of others as she is putting together this channel. So just give her that sense of your calling, your sense of your oversight of her work. Thank you for her willingness to brace for the pain and just continue to work that through. And Lord, thank you that you will bring her through this very deep Grand Canyon of a journey and walk out through the other side. So thank you for that. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Oh, yeah,
Well,
great.
no, you've earned it.
My goodness. Yeah, I'm just go with the flow. Let it happen. Keep thinking it's mind blowing how quickly this is going. So, but I'm glad. I'm glad. Because I do see a light at the tunnel, and there's these projects now that are developing and going, and I got to figure out how to, I mean, if someone's not computer literate, it's got to be on paper. And if someone is computer literate, how can I make it as user friendly as possible? So without flipping back and forth between 8 different things. Anyway,
You'll be able to.
that'll come in time. Well, have a great week and a great
Okay.
4th of July. I hope you're taking a day off.
May take part of it.
All right, good. You need to. You work a lot.
And then
All
we'll
right.
talk Friday.
Okay, take care.
Talk to you then.
All right, bye.